Yellowstone Season 1 quietly spoiled Jamie's fate with a throwaway line from John Dutton. If there's one thing that Taylor Sheridan did well in his now iconic TV franchise Yellowstone, it's delivering on the seeds he planted in the series' first season. Despite coming to a close 3 seasons earlier than Sheridan wanted, the writer and creator crafted some of TV's greatest character arcs, and it's all thanks to his understanding of characters and story. Jamie Dutton's arc is one of the most notable in Yellowstone. Yellowstone is packed with brutal truths and sharper betrayals, but one, in particular, was painful to witness despite it being foreshadowed in Season 1. Sheridan secretly armed the audience with all the information they needed to understand where the story was ultimately heading, but that didn't make it any easier. Jamie's descent and tragic downfall, as his journey veered from conflicted son to tragic antagonist, was staring the audience in the face, and one John Dutton line proves this. The tragic tale of Jamie Dutton. Towards the end of Yellowstone Season 1, Episode 5, Coming Home, Jamie and John sit in a secluded area of the house as Beth's painful muffled screams echo. Jamie tells John to send her back to Salt Lake City because, according to Jamie, the longer Beth stays at the Yellowstone ranch, the worse everything will get. John rejects this and tells Jamie that he needs Beth near him. Frustrated by his father's reply, Jamie tells John that he is willing to do whatever John needs him to do, and that's when John delivers a shocking response. While at first glance this feels like a throwaway justification for Beth's increasingly ruthless behavior, in retrospect it reads more like a prophecy. A single line of dialogue that sealed Jamie Dutton's fate from the very beginning. This isn't the first instance of Sheridan using John Dutton's words as prophecy for his children. Unfortunately for them, none of these prophecies delivered good fortune, especially not where Jamie is concerned. John, constantly favoring Beth and Case, only pushed Jamie further away and added fuel to the already burning fire. Telling Jamie that Beth could be what he would never be cemented Jamie's yearning to do whatever he needed to do to gain John's approval. If John wanted someone who could be evil, then Jamie needed to be exactly that. Alas, Jamie's villainous ways targeted his own family rather than those who were coming after them. In perfect tragic narrative structure, Jamie became the very evil that he was meant to be fighting against. The true war of Yellowstone was between Beth and Jamie. Unlike 1883 and 1923, the war the Duttons had to face in Yellowstone was not just a war from the outside, but one from within, and one that began when Jamie betrayed Beth back when they were teenagers. From then, Beth lost all respect and love for her brother and unleashed a war that went on across Yellowstone's 5 seasons. John Dutton did nothing to calm that storm. If anything, his behavior towards Jamie only made Jamie more desperate. Where Beth used her trauma as fuel to become ruthless and demolish enemies with zero regard for fallout, Jamie used his as fuel to hate his family even more. Despite being hurt and burdened by their father, Beth's loyalty never wavered. Jamie, on the other hand, was only ever loyal to himself. Beth says this to John more than once throughout the series, another nail in the prophetic coffin that Sheridan put in place. Jamie was never meant to be the hero of the story, but rather a parallel to represent the greed of men in suits coming in for the land and the Dutton ranch. The most tragic part of this character arc, however, is the fact that it was ultimately John who created this monster in more ways than one. The Yellowstone franchise is a story about loss, and more importantly one about the sins of the past coming back to destroy the present. Jamie's story is the perfect example of this. Jamie Dutton was always meant to become the villain. Time and again, Jamie's reluctance to get his hands dirty, from secretly supporting his own father's political rival to grappling with the fallout of forcing his sister to get an abortion, proved that he was never built for the Dutton brand of warfare. John knew it, which is why he tried to arm him with a law degree by sending him away to Harvard. Unfortunately, it all backfired in John's face. That single line of dialogue from Season 1 cemented the end of Jamie's arc. The further the story progressed in Yellowstone, the darker and more evil Jamie became, and in the final season, he committed an act that pushed him past the point of no return. While not the one holding the gun, Jamie agreed to bring John Dutton down by any means and ultimately paid the price. By doing so, Jamie became the very evil that John said he could never be. Despite believing that what he was doing was for the good of the family, Jamie was doing what he could to secure his own power and future. Jamie had countless chances to do better, to properly apologize to Beth, and to take responsibility for his actions, but he never did. Not genuinely anyway. He shook hands with those he knew were dangerous for the ranch and the Duttons. He supported those who vowed to destroy John Dutton. Jamie was easily manipulated, and his desperation could be smelled by any predator coming for the Yellowstone. This was why, in many ways, John could never trust Jamie fully. When John Dutton claimed Beth could be evil and that it was exactly what he needed, he underestimated just how dark Jamie's path would become. That line was meant to praise, albeit hesitantly, Beth's ruthlessness. In the end, it's Jamie, not Beth, who truly crossed the line into moral oblivion. John wanted a monster to protect the ranch. What he got was a monster that did whatever he could to take down the ranch and make it his own. In trying to forge a legacy through control, John Dutton created the very threat that would undo it, and all it took was one sentence from Yellowstone Season 1 to set it in stone.